Most true crime stories end with a mystery, but this one begins with a tragedy that feels like a typical hit and run until you see the final twist. It's a story about a mother's love, a family's desperation, and a plan so dark that even the police couldn't believe it. Imagine pulling over on a dark highway, not because you're in trouble, but because you're waiting for your own end. Late one October night on a desolate stretch of Highway 61, a patrol officer spotted a gray sedan. The engine was off, and the driver's side window was rolled down. Inside sat 43-year-old Sarah Miller. She looked peaceful, but as the officer's flashlight hit her face, the horror was revealed. A single gunshot wound to the head. There were no skid marks, no broken glass, and no signs of a struggle. Sarah hadn't even reached for her phone. It was as if she knew the killer, or better yet, as if she was expecting them. The detective Miller, no relation, took over the case. He found 4 tiny torn scraps of paper in the car door pocket. They had fragments like 65, Dalo, and ST. At the time, they looked like trash. The detective's first stop was Sarah's home, where he met her ex-husband Mark. Even though they were divorced, they still lived together to raise their 3 kids. Mark seemed devastated, but something didn't add up. Security footage from their apartment elevator showed Sarah and Mark together just before she left for her final meeting. In the video, Mark hugged her for a long time and kissed her, a goodbye that looked way too emotional for a casual meeting. Mark claimed Sarah was going to meet a loan shark to settle a debt, but the detective suspected Mark had hired a hitman. The detectives dug into Sarah's life and found a nightmare. She was drowning in nearly $500,000 of debt, money owed to banks, relatives, and dangerous underground lenders. Sarah and Mark weren't separated because they hated each other. They divorced to protect Mark's credit score from Sarah's financial ruin. They were actually a deeply devoted couple facing a total collapse. The breakthrough didn't happen at the crime scene. It happened months later in Sarah's brother's office. While interviewing him, the detective noticed a piece of paper tucked inside a book. It was a handwritten map. When the detective compared it to the tiny scraps found in the car, they matched perfectly. The 65 and Dalo weren't random. They were part of turn-by-turn directions to the exact unlit spot on Highway 61 where Sarah was killed. The truth was more tragic than any murder-for-hire plot. Sarah Miller was the mastermind of her own death. She had realized that her life insurance policy was worth more than her life. If she died in a homicide, the payout would erase her family's debt and secure her children's future. She convinced her brother and Mark to help. Sarah wrote the directions herself, gave them to a hired gunman, and drove to the location. She rolled down the window, waited for the hitman to arrive, and accepted her fate as a final sacrifice for her family. But the perfect plan failed. The insurance company investigated the strange circumstances and ruled the death a suicide, coordinating fraud. They didn't pay a single cent. Instead of saving her family, Sarah's plan led to Mark, her brother, and the shooter all being sentenced to 7 years in prison. In the end, the family was left with the same crushing debt and the loss of the woman who tried to die to save them.